It's an early September morning, and I'm out enjoying the sunrise in my fruit garden. I was out here a couple of days ago digging out jujube sprouts, so it's much neater than it was. It was a real mess because jujubes are an excellent tree for this area, a fruit tree. They're very drought resistant, but if they're in an enclosed area, you're going to have a problem with sprouts. And I saved one to show you here. This is a root from one of my former trees. The trees were spineless, but they are grafted onto a seedling rootstock, which is very spiny. So the sprouts have spines. Pardon me. So they can be a real problem. I think the only way to grow jujubes is probably in an open area where deer or goats or something can eat the sprouts as they come up. So here are the fruits. I got these in an Oriental food market, but if you haven't had them, I prefer them green, and then they eventually turn brown like these are starting to, and they get softer. Here's one I ate a piece out of. You can see the inside, and there's one seed inside, but they're crisp at this stage and similar to an apple, a mild apple. If you get them dried, you can soak them or just eat them that way, and they're called Chinese dates generally if you find them in the market that way. So I had trees that were fruiting, but like I say, the sprouts were just such a problem that I took the trees out, and now I'm still battling the sprouts several years later. So I came out for a pomegranate to put in the smoothie, which is, in my opinion, the best way to eat pomegranates. Here are a couple of trees behind the blue chair here where I was sitting. And they get quite tall. The one on the right is called Russian. It's one of the Russian varieties. And it's almost as tall as the cedar tree behind it. Here are some of the fruits. Here's one called Sweet. Fig trees are also very well adapted, although they prefer extra moisture. This is a couple of Celeste trees, and then there's a Texas everbearing back there. Since it is early September, things are starting to take on a bit of a autumn look, particularly since we're in the midst of a bad drought. Here's a pear tree. Pear trees are also well adapted. And underneath the pear tree I have a couple of yuzu, which are a hardy type of citrus. And I have these pots with blackberries growing in them. I only have thornless blackberries because, gosh, there's so many thorny things here already. I just thought, well, if I can get thornless blackberries, that's the way to go. And it is, because there's so many varieties now. This is a very good one, Primark Freedom. Most blackberries grow a cane like this 1 year, and then the following year the cane flowers and fruits. However, this Primark Freedom will flower and fruit the first year and the second year. So each cane is going to be doubly productive. You do have to come in and trim these back on all the blackberries. That way they branch. You can see where this one is branching out since I trimmed this one back. That way you get more flowers and more fruit. This is a Che tree, which is related to mulberries. It's a bit spiny. It has a mild tasting little red fruit about so big. Here's another small pear tree and a little pear. More blackberries. This is one called Apache. And this is one called Natchez. Here are my little drip emitters that I have set up. This one's going right now. And above the dwarf there is another pomegranate. That one's called Desertny. It's one of the Russian varieties. Another Russian variety is this one called Parfyanka. And down here I have Salavatsky. There's one of the fruits here. I've already picked quite a few of these, so there aren't too many left. Here's a mulberry. This is Illinois everbearing mulberry. This one had a few fruits on it up until late August. And here's another fig. This one is Negron or Violette de Bordeaux. It's a black fig. This is a Morton orange. See the little oranges? It's actually not a true orange. It's a citrus hybrid. And these little fruits are very seedy, but it can be really loaded. And I just peel them and throw them in a smoothie so I don't have to deal with all the seeds. But this is a hybrid with probably a satsuma and a trifoliate orange, most likely. It does have a few spines, like here, but not too many compared to some of the citrus hybrids. This is a newer hardy citrus. This one's putting on some nice growth right now. This is called Arctic Frost. And the fruits on this are seedless and really good. It didn't bear this year because it's not quite big enough. It did have a fruit when I first bought it in the container. And this tree, if we were to get a really hard winter and it were to freeze to the ground, which is probably unlikely, but if it did happen, it would come back as the same variety because it isn't grafted. It's grown from cuttings. And this one is quite spiny. Look at that spine. I think I'll come in here and cut some of these off. Hopefully it will be less spiny as it grows. That's sometimes the case with citrus. So I also have, over here is the grapevine. This is one of the better adapted grapevines for this area, called Black Spanish. But I've sort of let this grow up into the trees outside the enclosure, and the animals get the grapes. It's looking pretty bad right now because I haven't watered it, but it's a very hardy type of grape. And let's see what else I have in here. Oh, the persimmon trees. I've got Izu. This one's rather defoliated right now. And Fuyu. This is my oldest tree. Here's one Fuyu persimmon. Not ripe yet. Actually, this tree was loaded, and the only persimmons left are at the very ends of the branches because something ate them all. Squirrels, raccoons, or foxes would be my suspicion, or maybe all three. Here's another citrus. This is I'm not sure what the official name is, but the friend that I got it from calls it Austin Lemon. And it has these lemons. They do get larger, and they turn yellow, and they have a bit of a resiny flavor. But if you juice them and add water and maybe some juice from a regular grocery store lemon, then they're fine. They're very edible that way. This is another spiny tree. Here you can see the spines. So that's my little fruit garden. And in the greenhouse here, I have kumquats. This one's blooming. See the blooms coming on there. A lime tree. This is the Persian lime. And it has quite a few limes on it. Let's see if I can spot one. There we go. And I have Eureka lemon. This one here, this is a young tree. I just planted it last year from seed. This particular one does come true from seed. Not all citrus do. There's another kumquat and a key lime. And over here is the Meyer lemon. There's some lemons on that. And I have this winter Mexican avocado in the center in this big tub. Or stock tank, actually, is what that is. So these are fruits that are protected in the greenhouse, and I have a few things like peppers. Here's a pepper. That's a Hatch chili. And lemongrass. Anyway, these are winter protected fruits. There's a papaya tree in a pot. I did have papayas in here that fruited just magnificently. And then I started planting the citrus, so I need another spot for papayas. But back to the pomegranate that I was going to pick. So I think I'll pick one of these Salavatsky fruit. For a smoothie.